They were exiled, hunted, scattered across the earth. But prophecy said they'd come back. Today we're breaking down how the children of Israel survived, returned, and reclaimed the land of Canaan. This is the Emancipated, where truth is disseminated and lies are exposed. Today, we're exploring the incredible journey of the children of Israel, a journey that spans thousands of years and is deeply rooted in prophecy, resilience, and destiny. We're going to talk about why the children of Israel belong to the land of Canaan, how prophecy foretold their return, their exile and suffering, and the historic events that led to the creation of the modern state of Israel. We'll also explore the pivotal moment when they fought for their survival and emerged victorious, marking the fulfillment of an ancient prophecy. Let's begin our story in ancient times, when the land of Canaan, located between the Mediterranean Sea and the Jordan River, and covering what we now know as modern-day Israel, was promised by God to the descendants of Abraham. It all started with a promise, one that would unfold across generations. In the Bible, God tells Abraham in Genesis 12, 1-3, "Go from your country, your people, and your father's household to the land I will show you. I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing." This promise was given not just to Abraham, but to his son Isaac and his grandson Jacob, whose descendants became the children of Israel. God's covenant with them declared that this land, Canaan, would forever be their home. Now, fast forward hundreds of years, and we see the children of Israel, under the leadership of Moses, being led out of Egyptian bondage. This event is famously known as the Exodus, where they crossed the Red Sea and wandered in the wilderness for 40 years before returning to the land of their forefathers, the land of Canaan. But it wasn't just a physical journey, it was a spiritual and prophetic one. However, Israel's connection to Canaan wasn't without struggle. The children of Israel, after settling in the land, faced multiple occupations and exiles over the centuries. The most significant of these occurred in 586 BCE, when the Babylonian Empire, under King Nebuchadnezzar II, captured Jerusalem, destroyed the first temple, and forced the Jews into exile in Babylon. This was a devastating moment for the people of Israel, as they were displaced from the land that had been promised to them by God. But even in exile, a prophetic vision loomed large. The prophet Jeremiah had foretold that the Israelites would return to their land after a period of 70 years. And sure enough, in 539 BCE, Cyrus the Great, the ruler of the Persian Empire, conquered Babylon. Cyrus issued an edict that allowed the Jews to return to Jerusalem and rebuild the Second Temple, fulfilling the prophecy of their return. The Israelites, once exiled, returned to their ancestral homeland under the Persian reign, and for centuries they lived under various foreign empires, including the Greeks and the Romans. Despite their ongoing oppression, the prophecy that they would one day return to their land continued to resonate deeply within the hearts of the Jewish people. Then came the 20th century, a time of upheaval and dramatic change. After centuries of persecution, including pogroms and the horrors of the Holocaust, the Jews had nowhere to turn but to the promise of their return, a prophecy deeply embedded in their collective identity. The events of World War II provided the final catalyst. The Holocaust, which led to the systematic murder of 6 million Jews by Nazi Germany, left the Jewish people devastated, displaced, and longing for a homeland. The international community could no longer ignore their plight. The United Nations responded, and in 1947, they voted to partition Palestine into separate Jewish and Arab states, with Jerusalem as an international city. The UN Resolution 181 set the stage for the creation of the State of Israel. On May 14, 1948, David Ben-Gurion, the head of the Jewish Agency, proclaimed the independence of the State of Israel. Israel was born out of the ashes of destruction, fulfilling an ancient prophecy that had spanned millennia. But the world did not celebrate this new beginning. Instead, it was met with fierce resistance. Immediately following Israel's declaration of independence, the surrounding Arab states, Egypt, Jordan, Syria, Iraq, and Lebanon, launched an invasion aiming to crush the new state. The odds were stacked against Israel. They were outnumbered, poorly equipped, and their borders were surrounded by hostile forces. But the children of Israel were determined, not just for survival, but for the fulfillment of their destiny. Despite facing overwhelming odds, Israel won the War of Independence, 1948 to 1949, defeating the Arab armies and solidifying its position as a sovereign state. This victory was nothing short of miraculous. In the face of adversity, the prophecy of their return to the land, promised by God to Abraham, came to fruition. Israel had not only survived but thrived. Fast forward to today, and Israel is no longer just a nation fighting for survival. It has become a regional power in the Middle East, with a strong economy, a cutting-edge military, and a high-tech industry that is recognized worldwide. The prophecy that began with Abraham, continued through the exile, and was fulfilled in the 20th century, has led Israel to become a modern powerhouse in a volatile region. The land that was promised to the children of Israel is now theirs again, and despite the challenges, they stand as a testament to the resilience of a people whose history has been written not just in the sands of time, but in the pages of prophecy. The story of Israel is one of faith, perseverance, and fulfillment. From the promise of Canaan to their exile, to their return and the birth of the modern state, Israel's existence is a powerful reminder of how prophecy, no matter how distant, can shape history. The land of Canaan was not just a geographic location, but a spiritual home, where the Jewish people would ultimately fulfill their destiny, as foretold by the prophets. So, the next time you look at Israel, from its ancient history to its modern-day success, remember that this journey is not just political, but deeply prophetic, and the fulfillment of that prophecy stands as a powerful testimony to the enduring strength of a people, a land, and a promise. There's a message we need to understand. Peace cannot come unless we recognize each other's right to exist. Israel, a nation that fought for its existence and sovereignty, has now become a regional power, but this power cannot and should not be the reason for further conflict. To whom much is given, so much is expected. Israel is now a regional power, a leader. They must act as such, as a responsible regional power, and must lead. As a superior, they must not let trollers like Iran or Hezbollah or Hamas or any country for that matter get the best of them and create humanitarian crisis or genocide. Instead, it must be the catalyst for leadership and cool-headedness that will finally bring about peace. We cannot change history, no matter how hard we try to deny the truth. It is right in our faces. All the countries in the world need to recognize this, that Israel's journey is deeply intertwined with prophecy. From the promise of the land of Canaan to their exile and eventual return, Israel's existence is a fulfillment of prophecy. The UN resolution of 1947 that led to Israel's creation, followed by the War of Independence in 1948, was a testament to the will of the people and the promises made to them long ago. Yet, Israel's creation was met with immediate opposition from its neighbors, and since then, the rhetoric surrounding its existence has been a source of violence, rhetoric, and instability. Unfortunately, the rhetoric that sought to wipe Israel off the map didn't simply remain as words. Over the decades, this has manifested in terrorist actions, militant uprisings, and illegitimate militias that continue to disrupt any possible path toward peace. Israel's response, defensive actions, preemptive strikes, and a tightening of its borders, is a reaction to these existential threats. The ongoing violence has led to the suffering of both the Palestinian and Israeli people, particularly in Gaza, where humanitarian crises are a daily reality. Make no mistake, war is not the solution, and Israel today is more powerful than ever before, militarily superior to any of its opponents, combined. It is in this context that the situation in Gaza has escalated. The oppression of the Palestinians, the innocent lives lost, especially during the tragic events of October 2023, and the ongoing humanitarian disaster, are results of the inability to find a peaceful solution. But the blame is not on Israel alone. Israel's security and preemptive actions are driven by an unrelenting history of threats against their very existence. The world cannot ignore the impact of continuous hostility from groups and leaders who have refused to recognize Israel's right to exist as a nation. It's crucial to understand that peace cannot be achieved unless both sides come to the table with humility and a genuine willingness to recognize the other's rights and sovereignty. To our neighbors in the Middle East, the solution is not in war, not in further violence, and certainly not in the rhetoric of destruction. True leadership comes with the willingness to engage in peace talks, to recognize each other as equals on the world stage, and to build a future where we all can live side by side. This is not only about Israel's security, but about everyone's survival. It is Israel's rightful place in the region, but the region's peace depends on whether the neighboring nations are ready to truly recognize Israel's right to exist. As powerful as Israel is today, they understand the need for peace more than anyone. They are not looking to expand or wage further war, but rather to secure the right to live without constant threats looming over them. And it's not just about Israel. The Palestinian people have suffered immensely through these conflicts, and their suffering is also part of this puzzle. They deserve peace, dignity, and a prosperous future, just as much as the Israeli people. But this can only come when all parties recognize each other's rights. Violence and terror will not end the conflict. It will only perpetuate a cycle of pain and loss. The rhetoric of destroying or wiping off the map has no place in the future of the Middle East. Leaders on all sides need to take responsibility for their actions. And it's time to move away from boasting and brinkmanship, which only embarrasses and puts your people in greater danger. The world does not need more threats, it needs action toward peace. And that peace begins when the leaders of the Middle East, including those in Israel and the Palestinian territories, show that humility and mutual recognition are at the heart of their policies. As we watch the ongoing crisis in Iran, the oppression of the Palestinian people, and the deaths of innocent individuals across the region, it's clear the leaders in power have failed their people. The chaos, the wars, the suffering, it all stems from a lack of true leadership, a lack of accountability, and the refusal to recognize the rights of others. My prayer, and I hope the prayer of all people who desire peace, is that God intervenes in this moment of crisis. May the leaders who perpetuate violence be held accountable. War criminals, whether in Israel, Palestine, or elsewhere, must be brought to justice. Justice does not come through bombs. It comes through dialogue, compromise, and the willingness to change. At the end of the day, everyone has the right to live. Everyone has the right to exist in peace. It starts with us, the leaders of today, who must set aside their pride, their boasts, and their hatred. It's time for a new kind of leadership, one that puts people over power, recognizes the rights of all, and prioritizes peace over war. Israel's survival was not just promised by prophecy, but earned through resilience and sacrifice. But it doesn't have to be the reason for more suffering in the region. It's time for a new chapter of peace, of mutual respect, and of cooperation. Only then can we hope to break the cycle of violence that has plagued this region for centuries. I encourage all of us, whether we're leaders, citizens, or global observers, to call for a shift in rhetoric. Let's stop the divisive talk and focus on the future. The people of Israel, Palestine, and the broader Middle East deserve better. They deserve peace, they deserve dignity, and they deserve hope. May God grant us all the wisdom and courage to build a better tomorrow. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of History and Prophecy. Let's continue this journey together as we strive for a world where peace, respect, and understanding are the foundation of our relationships. Join us next time as we dive into another powerful story of history, faith, and the human spirit. Until then, take care and remember, peace begins when we recognize each other's right to exist.